reality, my mentality. Everything changes so rapidly, and I'm ready for the never-ending fire. Dancing with my deepest dark desires. Miracle, how empirical. Don't know anything quite as hysterical. Everything around me transpires as I fulfill my darkest desire.
Yo, what's going on, guys? VII here, and today I'm gonna be doing a short summary of the Cliff's Stitchwraith epilogue. And when I say short, it's not really short. It's basically the same length as my other ones. So, yeah. Even though it should have been shorter since it's an epilogue and it's like a fifth as long, but whatever. I was gonna do this in my video of all the Cliff story summaries, but those ended up being way too long anyway. And I also decided this deserves a whole video of its own, and I'll talk about my theories about this during the summary and at the end. So the epilogue starts off where the epilogue starts where we left off last time, with Afton's amalgamation about to attack Larson. Larson is able to hear the sounds of it, so he just ran away. Somehow he hadn't heard it forming behind him, but like yeah, okay. So, at first he thought it was like a train or something, but nope, this is much worse than a train. So then he peeks into the factory, and the amalgamation is like just trying to decide what form to take. And Jake in Stitchwraith climbs out of the trash compactor and sees that Afton is growing. Jake knows he and Larson are in danger, but then he starts getting sucked into Afton, but he's able to break free. But then Jake sees Eleanor from To Be Beautiful. So Jake tries to reach her, but she just laughs at him and then lunges toward him, knocking him to the ground. And it's kind of funny because these two are technically brother and sister, because Jake is basically Crying Child and Eleanor is Elizabeth, which is the Crying Child's sister, which is kind of funny. But Jake starts to feel like a spirit inside him or something, like something inside his spirit, something like dark or something, and like evil. So Eleanor takes that evil from him, and Jake could feel it. Then she smiles and winks at Jake, and then she lets herself get sucked into Afton. Then Larson and Afton meet face to face, and Larson can actually tell it's Afton. He knows it's Afton. Larson is going to run away towards another district or whatever of the place, of the town. But he was like, nah, this place has children. I'm not gonna lead Afton to them. So Larson thinks about his son Ryan and the words he used to say to him, which are really interesting words. Here's the quote. Teacher says dads are like superheroes, but you're not. Superheroes don't break promises. Honestly, reading that line kind of made me a bit sad. So, yeah. Then Afton starts going deeper into the factory, which is kind of weird. Larson grabs a bag of parts, which were near his car. And I was wondering what this bag is. I would have thought it was the Stitchwraith bag, but I think all those parts are Afton now, so it really can't be. So if not, well, what exactly is this bag? Well, we learn later on. You'll see. So, anyways, Larson goes past the room with Afton in it and goes into a hallway. And he starts hearing like a wet sound, which is like organs being removed or something. And it's never mentioned again, which is weird. It kind of reminds me of a lot of the sounds we hear in Sister Location when we're on our way to the scooping room, and also the fact that we get scooped, which removes our organs, so could be connected to that. So Larson starts seeing shadows on the walls, but interestingly, the shadows don't seem to be from Afton, but they acted in a similar way to Afton. The way they, like, kept contracting and, like, changing shape, which actually reminds me a lot of the FNaF 3 minigames when Shadow Bonnie, like, changed shape a lot and, like, was really glitchy and teleports around, right? Is that just me? Anyway, so Next, Afton busts through the goddamn wall. Yeah, he busts through the wall. And then Larson tries to make sure he can't be seen, but he's too late. Afton notices him, but then Larson notices parts on Afton were in the wrong place, like an eyeball on his kneecap, which is an interesting place to put an eyeball, right? Sounds pretty random, right? But interestingly, if you look at Ennard's body, there's an animatronic eyeball kind of close to the kneecap. So I wonder if that's supposed to be connected, but anyways, before he could figure out why the parts were like that, Afton smashes through a wall. Smashes Larson through a wall. He's sorry, kind of stuttering now, a little bit. Sorry about that. Afton smashes Larson through the wall, and then now we cut to Jake. Jake considers leaving, but then he's like, nah, I can't leave Larson. So he follows Afton through the hallway, and Larson is like sitting there with his eyes closed in a lot of pain. And then he starts hearing whispers, kind of like what Margie heard at one point of the real Jake. And it's also what we hear in the remnant sections of FNaF AR, which is interesting. The voices sounds like child voices, and all at once, 3 voices at the same time say, "Open your eyes." And when Larson does that, Afton is above him, like right next to him, really close to him. And the parts on Afton's body were kind of like animated and making noise, which is interesting. So Larson tries to run away, but before he's able to move away, Afton stabs him in the chest. Larson is able to like break free of it, and he runs down the hallway away from Afton. Jake is able to see Larson get stabbed, and he's like, oh no, Larson could have been infected with a piece of Afton's soul, which is interesting. A piece of Afton's soul, huh? This could explain that Glitchtrap can spread his soul into multiple different objects using an infection, and this is likely the infection that Vanny spread through the FNaF AR animatronic systems, which would explain why they're so glitchy and broken and evil, right? I'm pretty sure, I've always thought that Glitchtrap is the reason the FNaF AR animatronics are like possessed, but it's interesting that I think this is supposed to explain how or something, but yeah. So Afton chases Larson down the hall, but then Larson is able to get outside, and he's able to get to like a forklift. But then the bag next to him starts moving, and voices come from it now. And inside the bag was a mask, and tell me if this description sounds familiar. It has hollow black eyes, red cheeks, red lipstick, and purple streaming lines stretching from the eyes down to the wide, smiling mouth. Pfft, obviously, this is the Foxy mask. No, I'm kidding. This is obviously the puppet. So, the puppet mask tells Larson to take me to him. So, Larson hits Afton with the forklift, and then the bag opens, revealing black and white stripes, which is like the puppet's body. Then the forklift was absorbed into Afton, and since Larson couldn't really hide anywhere else, he just decides to stall. And he's like, Afton, that is you in there, isn't it? Though I'm not even sure what to call you now. And then Afton looks back at him and says, are you ready for this? I am agony. And that's a really interesting line, and I don't know if that's supposed to be taken literally, but if it is, well, I guess Glitchtrap isn't Afton's soul, but I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Glitchtrap is William's soul, but that's an interesting line, and I wonder what it could mean. Maybe that's just his new name. Yo, what's up, Agony? Yo, Agony, my name's Evan. What's up? Let's be friends, yo. Okay, anyway. Then Eleanor separates from Afton, which reminds me of how she separates from Molten Freddy / Ennard. And Jake gets kind of scared of her, so he hides from her. And then Larson opens his eyes and sees that Afton isn't looking at him, but he's looking past him at Eleanor as she jumps into a vent, which is really interesting, actually. So Afton looks over somewhere else and starts to shrink and fall apart. Why? Well, because the puppet was there looking pretty satisfied, and I'm pretty sure it says that it's like part of Afton, like the puppet merges with Afton and is part of the scrap pile and stuff. So Afton's just like, okay, well, it's time to die. So he starts pulling himself apart and throwing the parts into the lake. After like a minute, he was basically a pile of parts. And really interestingly, blood comes out of Afton. And I don't know why. Like, this isn't a real human body. It's all parts and stuff. So why is there blood in it? I'm thinking it could be a connection to Ralpho. Maybe Ralpho the animatronic is part of him, since Ralpho does bleed. Or some, I don't know. It could be that. I don't know. So then the puppet mask sinks into the lake, and Larson looks over, sees the Stitchwraith, which is Jake, but he thinks it's a part of Afton's soul still. But he's in pain, so he's not able to run away from it. He's just sitting there stuck. And then Jake goes towards him, and the infection of Afton is spreading through Larson's body. So Jake decides he has to stop it. So Jake assures Larson that he's not going to hurt him, but wasn't really sure if Larson heard, and I kind of doubt he did. So Jake uses the power from the Fetch battery pack, which powered his hand, which powered him, and then charges his hand with it, and he puts his hand over the stab wound in Larson's stomach. And Larson screams because it hurt, but then he couldn't move to stop it. And by the time the infection was out of him, Larson was just passed out. Jake hears sirens, and he's like, okay, I'm a target by the police, so maybe I should leave. And then as he's leaving, he realizes that he'd been close to Afton's spirit, and understood that the spirit wasn't as powerful as it seemed. And that meant something else was controlling Afton. And whatever it was, apparently it was worse than him. So, what does this mean? Who is controlling Afton? Honestly, I don't know. I had one idea. I'm pretty sure Afton only falls apart, after he sees the puppet, but also after Eleanor leaves his body. And I feel like maybe she could have been the one controlling him, like giving him extra power. Like, he was still forming until Eleanor entered his body, and then after Eleanor enters his body, he stops forming. So that's interesting. That's really weird. So I think it could have been Eleanor. And speaking of Eleanor, what happened to her? She went into a vent or something, but then we never see her again. So what happens to her? Well, it's also interesting that in this epilogue, we see, we have the whole Scrap FNaF 6 gang, right? William was Scrap Trap, like his spirit. William's body, though, was more like Molten Freddy, since it's like 15 feet tall, which is how tall people say Molten Freddy is. Also, the fact that it's like a combination and stuff, like an amalgamation of parts, which is like Ennard, from the Fun Times. And then they later become Molten Freddy. The puppet mask, which is obviously like Lefty, and Eleanor, which is like Baby. Weird, right? This distribution center is filled with scrap parts, so maybe this is when the Fazbear Fright's equivalent of Baby rebuilds herself to become the Fazbear Fright's equivalent to Scrap Baby? I think it could make sense. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your theories in the comments down below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Impulse7 out. Peace.